Welcome everybody, my name is Nairi and this is a channel about adoption, fostering, childhood trauma. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe. Today we're going to talk about transitions, how children cope with them, what we can do to support them through transitions. So my boys are now 15 and 16. One's nearly 15 and one is 16, and so they've been through a lot of transitions, and we've had them since they were 2 and 3 when they were little foster boys, and then we adopted them. So we've been through many transitions, and the first thing I want to say about any adopted or fostered child, they hate change, and it's understandable because for many of them they've had so much change throughout their life that just another change can really trigger so many feelings of rejection, abandonment, confusion, fear, because they don't know what's going to happen next. And if you think about it, every single one of them has been taken away from their original home. And it might be that you're in a situation where you're looking to adopt a child that hasn't had that significant trauma in that they were a very young baby. They may have been given up voluntarily, so things might be a bit different for you, but they still have had that initial change of being away from their original family, even if it was done in a safe and a nice way. But for many of us in the UK, it wasn't done in that way. It could have been in an emergency when they were moved. It could be for very traumatic or dramatic circumstances. So yeah, how do adopted and foster children cope with change? So in my experience, and that's all I can really say, is my boys will ask lots and lots of questions and be very anxious about any up and coming change. So let me give you some examples of what that might be. It might just be something very simple like going on a mini break. It might be that we're having a new car. Yes, that can cause some anxiety. It might be a big holiday. That's more obvious, I think. It might be that a new baby has been born in the family, or we're going to get a visitor coming to the house. Or it might be something bigger, like when they've moved from their nursery or preschool. Sorry about my husband in the background. He tends to be when I record, into school, or from school into a bigger school. So school transitions and nurseries are a big one, especially for my boys. Now, I want to talk about the fact that we've got some big transitions coming up for our boys at the moment. Now, you hopefully will be able to compare what might happen with your children, or if you're looking to adopt, start thinking about how you would cope with some changes in your family. And a new home, by the way, that's another big one. So we've got the boys now, one of them is at school and one of them isn't at school. So one of them was taken out of school because of learning disability and just not being catered for. So just for a short while, for a year, he's learning from home, and then he's going to go to college. So he has a big transition to go to college. The other one is going to need to start thinking about maybe what he might want to do at college. So it took us a while to formulate for the older one that he wants to work with animals. He went around a few ideas, but now he knows, and we know where he's going. We know what college he's going to. So we now have to help him get ready for that massive transition from being at home to going to college. So let's start with him first. What types of things can we do? Now, the older one would prefer, honestly, not to talk about anything really. He would rather keep his emotions entirely to himself. That's partly because he does have a lot of difficulty verbalizing how he's feeling anyway. Now, I could go down the route of then not mentioning it at all, okay, so not to upset him. I could do that, but the reality is it is happening, it is coming, and so that might not be a good idea. So the first thing I want to say is, like, just drip feed the idea in for your child. So just for example, say you're moving home and it's going to be in 6 months' time. Don't start talking about it the week before. The only time when I don't talk about things until the day is when we're going to do something really exciting, and I think it's just going to be blow their minds, and they're going to repeat it 1,000 times on the day before, the week before. If it's something exciting, I don't want them to get overstimulated, then I might not mention it. But when it comes to transition, I do mention it. So as soon as you've got a certain idea that you're moving, and I know sometimes things fall through, but you're pretty certain that this is going ahead, say you're 70% certain this is going ahead, you start talking about it. Now, if you've got younger children, you've got more options open to you, because you can make a little book. That doesn't have to be, you don't have to be artistic to do this, okay? You can take some pictures of the home from the outside where you're going to. If the agent has, produced their own pictures, you can use those, stick them in a scrapbook book for them, and you can start flicking through and showing them what it looks like, what the garden looks like, what their bedroom might look like from the agent pictures, for example. Or online, you can maybe, I don't know if you can download a print. You can also include a timeline within that, because children are very, very sketchy around timescales, but our children more so. Sometimes they really can't get the concept of time. So your child might think it's forever away, or they might think it's happening really, really quickly, and be getting really anxious when you've got 6 months still before you're going to move. So it's really good to include some sort of calendar in this little book that you're making, or have a separate calendar where you cross off the days. Crossing off days before something happens is a really good idea anyway. But if you've got some visuals and you've got some dates to work with, then they at least can have an idea of where they're going and how long it's going to take before they get there. And then you need to talk positively about the move. Now, you may have a lot of negatives about the move. You might have lots of misgivings, but you're not going to portray that onto the child. You're going to give them lots of good reasons why you want to move. Yes, but you're also going to allow them to grieve leaving their old home behind. So if their own home is somewhere where they've been happy and where you've got lots of great memories, then reflect on those. Because often we just move children around, and I'm not talking about you as an adoptive parent moving home, that has to happen sometimes, but I've said many times, relationships just abruptly come to an end, homes abruptly come to an end. A moving house is very emotive, very connected, isn't it, to moving to different people as well. All right, so sometimes something like moving home might bring up a lot of past for them, might trigger stuff they don't understand about suddenly a sense of loss. So you need to reflect on the good things that you've had in the home. Like, you've had a lovely bedroom, we've enjoyed doing that in the garden, I remember when we did this. Allow them to process that you understand that they're going to miss this home. Now, we've even had to do that with cars, the red car that we used to have. I'll find with one of my sons, it's like, oh, the red car was the best car. It's exactly the same as the grey car that we've now got, same model, just a newer car. But the red car, we did this in, we did that in. It's a sense of their belonging. So we've had to do it with lots of things. So you can imagine building up to this college for my older son is massive. He's going to have to catch a bus. Now, he has done that. But what do we do? Do we kind of give in to the fear and start dropping him there by car? Maybe day one. Is that going to help him long term? No, it's not going to help him long term. So we're going to need to build him up to this transition by giving him experiences that help him toward that. So we've already been doing that for the whole year. We've encouraged him to go out and help at a cafe. We've encouraged him to go out dog walking. We've encouraged him to be out in the world, because he wouldn't have naturally. Yesterday we had a hoo-ha over the fact that he still doesn't want to go and get his hair cut, and I sensed it was probably that he just doesn't want to kind of go on his own, but he wouldn't want me to go either. So could have given in, because he was going to do it today instead. This is like 3 weeks after we've kept on going on about it, and in the end it was like, no, we need to be firm with you. You're going to go and get your hair cut today. And sometimes you do have to be firm to give them the experiences that you want before the actual event. So in your situation, maybe it's going to be the very first time at nursery or preschool. They're 3, they're 4. What can you do? Well, you can make these little books, as I say, that you can get them familiar with the faces of people they're going to see. But you could also have little play dates, try to work out who's going to the same nursery. You could leave them maybe a little bit more often with people. Obviously not with people you don't trust, but maybe up until now it's very much been about you and it's been about what you provide. But in reality, they're going to have to make a big adjustment. So is there a merit in having a family friends or friends that they stay a few hours with, build that up, keep talking about it with them. They'll probably ask questions, but if they don't, keep talking about it. Say, when you go to nursery, this will happen. So for example, when you go to nursery, there will be snack time, and at snack time there'll be a selection of fruit, and at the moment you don't like fruit, so actually let's try a little bit more fruit at home, because I'm not going to give you biscuits. I mean, it depends. Your nursery or preschool might give them biscuits, but I'm just giving examples of the fact that there's going to be new things for them to get used to. So we will prepare our son by probably getting him to do a few more bus journeys before he actually starts. So, getting him to get on the bus a little bit more on his own and go to places. We will prepare him, we are preparing him by making sure that he understands when he goes there that he's going to do a day's work, because at home you can be really flexible with your education. He's mixed it with socialising to get his confidence up, and the academic side has been like not quite 50%, I'd say. But when he gets there, he's going to have an assessment to see which course he goes on. One of them is a pre-course, which will have less of what he wants to do in it and more maths and English, and one of them is the actual course, which obviously he wants to get on. So my husband's trying to get him to understand that everything that we've been doing academically at home is with the view of him passing that assessment to get on the course he wants, and he's beginning to understand that. And so rather than be really light touch like we were at the beginning, when his mental health was so low that all we wanted was him to be okay every day, now it's more like, well, we're going to knuckle down with this work. We're going to do some pre-assessments to help you, and this is how it's going to be. So this is how it's going to be when you get there. It's going to be more like that. So that's what we'll be doing with him. And with my younger son, he seems to have this whole thing of where he doesn't want to grow up. I'm sure some of you might have experienced this. He doesn't want to think about the future because he wants to stay in the here and now. He's, I wouldn't say he's happy at school, but he's getting along. He's rubbing shoulders okay with his friends, which if you've watched my previous videos is a miracle in itself. He's not really falling out with people as much. He's not having so many, I call it meltdowns, maybe that's not fair, but so many emotional situations where we're really struggling with him. He's not having as much of that. So, I thank God for that every day, because it was really, really hard, and he's doing a lot better. But when change comes, he may not. And he doesn't want to think about what he's going to have to do after school. I don't even think he really wants to think about next year when he's going to be taking exams, and he's actually coasting with his work, which probably means he's not going to do as well as what he could do. And we were always warned about that because of his childhood developmental trauma. We were warned about that. But anyway, he is, he's got lots of interests really. And when we say to him, what do you think he would like to do? It's like, I don't want to talk about that now. I'll give you an example. We were out for a walk at the park, and I said, and he was talking about all these cars that he'd seen, and he was using AI to superimpose bits of cars onto other cars. I said, you really love cars. I really think that something to do with cars might really be your future. And he said, yeah. I said, so there is a local college nearby that does that. Oh, but I don't want to talk about that now. So he's really struggling with the idea that he's going to have a transition, and it's coming, it's getting closer. So I could shut down, or I could let him shut me down, but I'm not going to do that, because I can see that we're going to have to face it at some point. So I'm going to keep talking about it. I am going to keep throwing ideas at him about where he could do things around cars, and what type of jobs there are out there around cars, and what college might be like compared to school, because I'm guessing he would try to stay at school for the next, until he's 18. I'm sorry about my husband, because that's what he knows. And what he knows is safer to him than something he doesn't know. So yeah, I just hope that gives you a little flavour about transitions. Okay, it's more around my personal situation and opinions, and it's not, you know, it's not a science, obviously. If you like my channel, I think you're going to enjoy it, please subscribe, and also look at membership. I have 5 lovely members, and sometimes I do extra videos for them which are a lot more personal. So I hope to see you again on Fly Little Birds.